I heard my own voice in Paul's letter to the church in Rome this week. It said, "I do not understand what I do, for what I want to do, I do not do, but what I hate, I do." Like every Christian, I knew exactly what he meant, because the voice of one who wants to do the right thing, one who knows the right thing to do, and yet falls short time and time again. For I know that good itself does not dwell in me, that is, in my sinful nature. For I have the desire to do what is good, but I cannot carry it out. Every Christian knows the sting in those words, because we are reminded each time we come up short of our own intentions by the cruelest judge among us, ourselves. Instead of the memory of what good we have done, our focus is only on that stain or blemish that consumes the entirety of our horizon. So I find this law at work. Although I want to do good, evil is right there with me. If we are able to look away for a moment, still we find ourselves surrounded by those who would point again and again to that which remains imperfect or flawed as a way to define us, to limit our understanding and our appreciation so that we remain hopeless, enslaved, and defined by sin, so that we look upon that which God has made us to be and all that He has done through our lives, and we find only despair instead. What a wretched man I am! Who will rescue me from this body that is subject to death? Thanks be to God, who delivers me through Jesus Christ our Lord. Where we put our focus, where we invest our hope, and what we keep in our memory defines us, just as much as who and what we worship. Whether we chose to erect a monument to a moment of triumph, or put victory on a pedestal and hold it up, frozen in time, as a way to deny its fleeting nature. Are we likewise left looking always at the world as it once was, unable to forget, praying for restoration, and waiting for God's promise to be fulfilled? Could we instead take up the cause of liberty, even as its outcome was not yet assured? Could we put justice on a pedestal instead, held up, aloft, as fleeting and fragile as victory, but equally worth pursuing and protecting once we had tasted it, even for a moment? Could we look upon these imperfect men around us and see both scoundrel and statesman among them, beset by sinful natures, and yet still able to fix their eye and hand for a moment on that which transcended their weakness and turned our gaze every day since toward what God had intended for us when we are able to embrace the better angels of our nature? Would we be able to refine in those dark hours of our journey a map that pointed to a country we did not yet inhabit, but we long to be a part of with all of our heart? This far along in that relay race of imperfect servants, in the shadows of that which has arisen in the years that followed, can we still look back and remember those who had the will to serve, who risked both blood and treasure in the name of liberty, but who also had the strength to lay down the crown when it was offered, to place it instead at the foot of the common man? A country that would never kneel to a single king, but would give birth to many. Those kings that gave us an ear to hear the music we were missing, to remind us of the dreams that were still unfulfilled, and to show us where grace might still be found. Imperfect men who changed the world and left none who heard their voices untouched. Because we commemorate all of the fallen and not only the victorious. We honor those who stood when the cause was lost, who persevered when the odds were not in their favor, and who walked into the valley without hope, but were still driven onward by duty and purpose. We do not hide the scars of the battles we have endured, nor attempt to cover over the memory of past defeat. We keep that memory of our darkest days to remind us of all that we have endured, even as we hold out hope for an enduring peace in the days to come. Neither do we shrink from the memory of those seasons where our steps turned aside from the path of justice, of honor, of truth, when we looked upon each other and did not see our brother or sister, and we strained to find the bond of affection necessary to unite us as a people. We look upon our flaws, the places where our plans, designs, and intentions were not reflected in the result. Because the walk of Christian faith is one of reconciliation and renewal, we must endure the memories that have marked us and the reminder of the path that shaped us. For it is the only way to see that which God has done in our lives. It reminds us that even when we were blind and unable to define that which afflicted us, still we could be touched by the living water and transformed by the miracles it held. If we cannot remember that path we walked, we will forget those who guided our steps, those who walked beside us, and the tears that fell along that trail. We will see the gates that were opened before we could continue the journey and not know what they once held in or once held back. We risk wiping away the memory of those who came before us, the trials they endured, the sacrifices they made for those who would not remember their name. But still, we hold them and honor them in our family. We honor them not for their victories, because no victory is ever complete. We honor them for the struggle that makes every future victory possible, and the example that encourages us to walk in their footsteps. We celebrate the mistakes that were made and the way they fell short as a frame for understanding that our missteps should not discourage us from going forth and finding where our own part in the journey might take us. For if we lose sight of how far we've come and forget the places where our family was held together along the way, then we will miss the chapter where each one of us was written into the story and included in the inheritance. We will be unable to see that which binds us together and makes us greater than the sum of every time we fell short along the way. It will limit our ability to imagine ourselves taking up our own part in the cause of liberty, and discouraging us from holding our own light aloft that will draw close to us those who likewise seek rest, comfort, and a path toward freedom. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. Because the monuments we keep reflect us, what we value, what we remember, and what we aspire to be. It is not the conquering king who symbolizes our walk, nor is it the moment of triumph where we cast our eyes in hope, but the moment of sacrifice we choose to remember. The patience, restraint, love, and honor that sustained our Lord in the darkest hour, and the faith that guided his steps as each one took him closer to his place on that cross. We will need to remember that love and grace in our walk, because there are still divides to cross before us, monuments that remind us of the greater design that God has for our lives, and an inheritance that can be shared countless times without ever diminishing our share. If we have the courage to keep going, taking strength from the memory of the journey thus far, and courage from the Creator that laid out our path on that long march to liberty, and our place in that kingdom that will never end. Amen.